Okay, so after spending some time playing around with Arduinos and ESP32s, I thought I'd do a Raspberry Pi project. So what I've made here is a Raspberry Pi tablet. Now, it's not exactly professionally made. There you go, if you want to have a look, it's about 2 inches thick, but it's not overall almost 18 inches diagonally across. It's a 15.6 inch touchscreen, sorry, 15.6 inch LCD with touchscreen, and it is a work in progress. Let's call it a prototype, which I've had to modify several times. I did have a Raspberry Pi 3 in here. I've since put a Raspberry Pi 4 in, and then realised it needed some kind of cooling. So what you're seeing in the picture down here is the cooling holes I put in there afterwards, drilled them in. This was originally where the SD card would have been removed in and out, but I ended up struggling for space on the inside because none of my wiring is really bespoke and it takes up a lot of space. Along the bottom here, if you can see those, screen controls. So as I've got inside is an EDP to HDMI converter board, and that gives you all your screen controls, brightness, volume, things like that. I printed this case on my 3D printer. Unfortunately my printer wasn't quite big enough to do the whole thing in one shot, so I've got a split down the middle there. That's really quite a poor part of it there, but it's only a prototype. So I'll move around the side here. USB 3, power. It runs on a 19 volt laptop power supply. Headphones. An afterthought was the reset switch. When I made the latch board to turn the Raspberry Pi on and off, I didn't put that on then, so it's done like that afterwards. So if we have a look at the back, it's pretty ropey, this 3D print, because I mean each part, well, it said it was printing on 200 millimeters a second, but it's whatever the maximum the 8-bit microcontroller can handle. I don't think it's 200. So down here there's a laptop fan in behind there, just a quick rough drill out because I literally rushed that in there a day or so ago. Speakers in the back. In the middle section there is enough space for 12 18650 batteries. On this side we've got the Raspberry Pi. In the centre here there's a few other bits. The EDP to HDMI is in the other side there, and here is the front. Oh, and an aerial connection on top. We'll get to that. So inside, actually we won't go into what's inside yet. I'll just turn it on. Just running on batteries for the minute. The batteries last quite a long time. There's only 6 in there at the moment. I say there's room for 12, and those 6 last at least a good couple of hours, 3 hours roundabouts, maybe more. I haven't really tested it. So as you can see, normal Raspbian, and you know, it's just basically a Raspberry Pi tablet, a fairly large one. So just to show you it works, we'll go on YouTube and put some random no sound. That's rather annoying. Right, okay. As you can see, touch screen's okay. Although, when I did design this, I used a Fusion 360 and got the measurements slightly wrong. So, right along the bottom edge of the screen there, I doubt you can see it. Or maybe you can. There's about 1.5 mm where the screen's set up too high. I'm just going to put a mouse in for this because it will be a lot quicker. Apparently.
How I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me.
Right, so just proof that it all seems to work okay. Right, so there's a lot of, not a lot actually, there's a few electrical components inside this which I'll get to in a minute, but one thing I will show you first is the gas gauge chip. So I made some little boards up, which is that, and it is a max17205 chip. And initially I'd set up a potential divider on an Arduino to use to check the battery voltage, but I wanted something a little more professional, so I got these chips off of Maxim, and this was probably the most problematic thing I had in the whole system, because actually I'm terrible at programming. So as you can see there, this is a work in progress at the moment. This is as far as I've got, but it gives you the cell voltage, pack voltage, capacity, which I'm not sure is actually right, state of charge, not sure that's right either, temperature should be okay, current, that's wrong, and time to fault did look right for a moment then. So that's that. There's also a small script running here for the fan. So when the fan hits about 40 or 50 degrees, it's not on yet, so 50 degrees I think it is, the fan will come on progressively, and then the other thing is the safe shutdown which is another script running in the background, and that shuts the Pi down safely. Okay, so what have I got inside? So I've got this board, which is the max17205. I finally figured out how to read the registers and write to the registers. I also made a latch board. That's an unpopulated version of it, which is literally just for turning it on and off. Goes to a GPIO or 2 GPIO pins on the Raspberry Pi. Well, this max17205 is I2C, so that's quite handy. Then I used DC-DC converter with these, which is an Lm2596, to convert down from 12 volts to 5 for the Raspberry Pi. And then the 12 volt pack also goes into the EDP to HDMI board at 12 volts. And that is basically it. All the parts were bought from eBay, AliExpress. Actually, there is one thing I didn't show. Initially I built this project because I got fed up with having to put Raspberry Pis here and there to play around with little projects, so I thought, well, if I had this battery powered, I could put this anywhere and do a project anywhere I wanted to without being stuck with loads of wires everywhere. And that's the one thing I actually haven't done yet. Okay, so another little feature I put in here. There is one of these cheap little things inside, so that enables me to play around with radio. Right, and now for a quick look inside the main working of it. So we've got cheap speakers, I forget where I got those from. So inside, as you can see, it is a bit of a bird's nest at the moment. So this here is the latch board. Up here, I forgot to mention the lipo charger. So that's 3000 series, 12 volts. Here we have the real-time clock, so when it's not online it still displays the correct date. Just there we've got the RTL SDR dongle. And then the rest of the workings, the main bulk of it, apart from that, are in this one here. Oh, and inside this big lump here is literally just a transistor and a resistor. I think that was it, possibly a diode, and that's just for the fan control. So the charge board, I think that was a max17205 charger board. Yeah. So the fan is inside there, which then blows through here, across here, and vents out the bottom here. It's not ideal, but it was the best I could come up with, as it was a kind of afterthought. All this stuff in here will eventually be tidied up and reduced down when I make the next one and reprint all the 3D prints on this, because there's a lot of improvements to be made. For one problem I've had is because I put the lipo charger here and the SDR dongle is here. When I'm plugged in to charge the batteries up, it creates horrible interference. So whilst it's running on batteries, it's absolutely fine. Anyway, I think that is probably all I'm going to bother to show you.